I am going to introduce myself and our panelist. I am Diane Blazik. I'm the Executive Director for National Garden Bureau. And we and I have been working with America in Bloom for years and years. And by the way, to America in Bloom, happy 25th anniversary this year, correct?
Yeah, so excited.
All right. Okay. So I am going to briefly introduce our three panelists, turn it over to them. They will tell you a little bit more, and then we're going to get started with things. So we have on our panel Laura Kunkel, and behind her, you can see the beautiful America in Bloom logo. She is the executive director. And then we also have Teresa Woodard, who has been serving America in Bloom for many years. I'll let her tell you the details there, as well as Rodney Barnes. And so you guys are amazing representatives of America in Bloom. So that is wonderful. And before I turn it over to the three of you to tell more about yourselves and your organization, is I want to tell everybody that we will welcome questions. So I'm a little bit more casual and laid back. If you want to put a question in chat, go ahead. If you want to put your question in Q&A, go ahead. I'm one person. I'll try to track both, but I'm sure our panelists will be looking at those also. So feel free to do that and welcome everybody. And now, Laura, I'm going to toss it to you for your introduction.
Well, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting us. It's a real honor to be here with Teresa and Rod. Both are incredible volunteers who've been involved in the organization for a long time. So to be able to sit on this panel with them is really an honor. I am the executive director. I've been around America in Bloom since day one when it was just an idea. And when we get into the presentation, I'm just going to talk a little bit about that history and how we got from day one to year 25. So thanks for inviting us.
Awesome. And great job, Laura. Okay, Teresa, tell us about you and your involvement with AIB.
I've been involved with America in Bloom for about 8 years now, and it's just great. Every summer, I get to visit these vibrant communities and see all the wonderful things that they are doing to beautify their communities and build these strong communities that and learn more through the America in Bloom program. So,
Awesome. Okay, and Rodney.
Yes, I got involved in American Bloom about 16 years ago as I was a city manager for a community in Kansas, and we thought it was a great idea to get involved, and then it just grew from there. And I've become an advisor, and then I joined the board, and now I'm a past president. And so it gets in your blood, and it's a wonderful family to join, and they just do great things about trying to help promote beauty in our natural environment across the country.
Awesome, awesome. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our presentation here and we're going to start with Laura with a really good overview about what America in Bloom is. And yes, this is a community beautification program, but it's so much more. And like the title of our webinar is Ask Me Anything About How to Beautify My Own Community. So interspersed in this entire presentation are going to be tidbits and ideas that you can take home, you can take to your own community, you can take to your own yard. So, okay, Laura, we will hand it over to you and I'll pop over to the next slide where you can start with your explanation.
All right, well, very good. And it's really fun to watch the chat because people are checking in from around the country. In fact, we've seen the Canadians pop in too, and I see people from American Bloom communities. So that's really fun. So welcome to our AIB communities and welcome to those who want to ask anything today. American Bloom is celebrating its 25th anniversary, as Diane mentioned. It began with a group of horticulture professionals who they wanted to connect at the grassroots level about the benefits of plants. We know that plants are pretty, but they are more than pretty. There's economic benefits, human health benefits, and environmental benefits. So they created this organization to do just that, connect at the grassroots level. So America in Bloom is really about helping communities become the very best that they can be. And as you see on your screen, we think American Bloom communities across the country are the best examples of welcoming and vibrant places to live, work, and play. We really focus on volunteerism and education through encouraging the use of flowers, plants, trees, environmental stewardship, and lifestyle enhancements. So the way the American Bloom program works is to date, we've had 380 communities. Let's make that about 382 because we had two more join today in 44 states. Come on, Hawaii. Come on, Alaska. So we've had a lot of communities around the country get involved in America in Bloom. It is a community enhancement program. As I mentioned, it's really about volunteer engagement, but we want them to do that in coordination with the municipal efforts and the business community. What's great about the AIB program is it brings everybody together. You're working toward common goals. Instead of working in silos, you're working together. It fosters better cooperation. You're working under the umbrella of America in Bloom. Rod and Teresa are one of our amazing advisors. We send a two-person team of advisors out to the communities every summer, and we'll visit depending on your climate. You might be, if you're in South Florida, we're going to probably come in late April, early May. But if you're in the Midwest, we'll probably see you in June or July. Those advisors will spend a couple days in your community and they want to see everything you're doing. Don't just show them the pretty parts, show them the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we want to help your community become the very best that it can be. They're going to spend a couple days there seeing everything that you're doing, learning about what you want to do. And then they're going to go home and they're going to write a report. And this report is really an action plan that you can use to implement projects. It gives ideas and recommendations on what to do, how to do it. Just wonderful resources. We've been told that evaluation, these hired consultants would be about 50 grand, and we're going to give that to you for a fraction of the cost. And our advisors really are the rock stars of our program. They come from a wonderful variety of experiences and industries. Rod's a city manager, for example. We have arborists, educators, heritage preservationists, environmentalists. We have former mayors. So we bring a lot of knowledge to communities to help them be the very best that they can be. And just one also brief point is that the American Bloom program also provides national awards. You're doing wonderful things in your community, so why not get national recognition for the great things that you're doing? And I could talk about American Bloom for a couple hours, but due to the time constraints, I'm gonna try to keep my comments brief.
And in addition to the national awards, then America in Bloom does national publicity. So then you work with journalists from all over and say, hey, this city and this city and this city. So that's like an added benefit. Okay. And then Laura, we'll let you talk about the areas of impact.
Yeah, we're going to be very brief on this. These are the 8 areas that we focus in. We think if a community is focusing in these areas, they're going to be more beautiful, they're going to be more vibrant, they're going to be a place where people want to live, to work, and invest. Remember, plants are pretty, but they are more than pretty. So floral impact, that's the wow that comes with flowers, landscaped areas, urban forestry, we love our trees, environmental initiatives, community vitality, celebrating heritage. Every community has heritage. You should celebrate it and recognize and protect it. Overall impression, which is sort of the cleanliness, the tidiness, or things in good condition. And then community involvement. Community involvement runs through everything that we do.
Excellent. Thank you. I see a quick question here, Master Gardeners. And I'll say the cities that I have visited and where I was an advisor, the Master Gardeners were very involved in like the local In Bloom committee or, managing this space or that space. So I think the quick answer is yes, Master Gardeners are very involved with America in Bloom. And okay, so Teresa, now you're going to talk about one of those areas of impact, which is floral impact.
Yes, floral, it's really one of the best places to begin your community beautification program because it's an instant signal of your community pride. It's really the heart of your community. The flowers welcome your visitors. They create this powerful first impression. It really says this is a great place to visit, live, and work. And besides flowers, they're highly visible and highly shared on social media. So they quickly build this enthusiasm in your community. And we found that in America in Bloom communities, it's really floral that often sparks people to get engaged in the program.
Also, Teresa, we had a community where economic development happened in their downtown, a major national company of 350 employees located there because of their beautiful flowers.
Yeah.
I do want to excuse me, Teresa, go ahead.
Sure, keep going.
Well, I just want to talk quickly about the picture on the left. This is Arroyo Grande, California. This was an ugly bridge that separated two parts of the community. And their In Bloom committee decided they wanted to make that bridge look nicer. So yeah, it does. It looks nicer, right? But what they realized is that those flowers slowed traffic more than the speed limit sign did. So when a mayor says, oh, we don't need flowers, yes, you do. That was actually public safety. Remember, plants are pretty, but they are more than pretty.
Yes. And I think the key is to start small and do it really well. If you start with just a few hanging baskets downtown or a cluster of containers on a prominent corner, and make that year your year to show, and do a really great job with some proven plants and vivid colors, and take great care watering and feeding them. And that small success will build support moving forward. People are going to want to expand the plantings down the streets and out in front of their businesses. They're going to say, I want one in front of my store. And then you'll also see this spin over into the homes and the residential communities, and people will all, it just becomes contagious. And many communities make it easier by engaging volunteers in the watering or hosting a May potting day for lots of volunteers in the community. And then they engage in partnerships with garden clubs and even a high school greenhouse to grow and pot up the plants. So there's lots of ways to make it impactful and make it work in your community.
I'm glad you said that about home gardens too, because, you know, we always talk about gardening as kind of a keep up with the Joneses kind of thing. So it's like, if you see somebody else with a pretty garden, you want it too. And, you know, and sorry to say this, even if you're not in the American Bloom program, you're beautifying your community, but that would put you on the step toward the path then of getting your community involved. So great. Thank you. Okay.
Absolutely,
Teresa,
Diane.
Pardon?
Absolutely. And in Zion, Illinois, not far from Chicago, one person, it just took one person passing out packets of zinnia seeds. And we saw zinnia seeds all over this community just from this one person that started passing out zinnia seeds. So I loved it. And it was zinnia for Zion. So it was perfect. But next we move on to landscape areas. And landscaping is really that next layer of beautification, because it adds more structure and some long-lasting impact. Look for high visibility areas like your city gateways or park entrances, walkways, and waterfronts. And don't think of landscaping, like Laura said, just as pretty. These spaces can work hard ecologically too, with pollinator gardens, rain gardens, and naturalized areas. It's really a great way to green up the community while solving some real environmental issues. And a lot of times it just takes one person again to say, I'm going to put in a butterfly garden, like in Greenfield, South Carolina, or I want to create a rain garden. It just takes one person, and then a lot of people will join in. One inspiring approach I saw was these sidewalk cutouts, where you allows more planting pockets downtown. And it creates this soft hardscape. It makes Main Street feel more walkable and welcoming. It also builds some momentum for the seasonal flowers that you plant. And I think, again, the key is just to have a cohesive palette of proven plants, and also to think about maintenance before you get started so that you know what you're committing to. And some of these kinds of upgrades can be an investment, but it can add a real emotional shift in how people may experience downtown, especially with these landscapes cutouts.
Awesome.
Teresa, garden clubs have great fun taking on these projects like you just described with these wonderful areas. They join together in a community day and work on the plants, plant more, and that's where the master gardeners come into play in a big way.
Yeah, if anybody's in Washington, Missouri, there's a garden group that took on a butterfly garden, and it's on a prominent corner, and it's just exquisite, and it attracts a lot of butterflies, but also a lot of visitors. So it's a great example. That's right, Rod. Okay. Next, we move on to urban forestry. And our tree canopy is really one of the most important and often overlooked community investments. And trees, they cool our downtown streets and our homes, which makes outdoor areas, more comfortable and reduces energy use. The benefits continue, they trees support our mental well-being and they manage stormwater by reducing runoff. They consistently raise curb appeal and property value. So it truly is beauty with benefits. The key to tree canopy is to have a plan, not a one-time planting. And start by examining your existing trees, noting, some of the historic ones are what I call the heritage trees, ones with great stories like these here lining the streets. And then make plans to protect and care for these historic trees. Then next, take a look at where the shade is missing. Maybe it's downtown sidewalks or parks or schools or neighborhoods, and prioritize those areas. The key is to choose some durable, urban tolerant trees and give them plenty of space they need. And then finally, to protect the investment, with watering and aftercare for at least the first 2 years, so that you have this long lasting canopy that you've invested in. And overall, I kind of look at this area, these three areas like this, flowers, they create the momentum, landscaping builds permanence, and then the trees, they're future proof for our communities.
That's fantastic. And
this is why our AIB advisors are the rock stars. Listen to that. That's awesome.
Exactly. And you were talking about heritage trees, and I loved it when we visited Lewisburg, West Virginia. Their heritage tree, that big ginkgo, has its own Facebook page. So how about that for honoring a wonderful tree? Yeah.
It's another way to get, as you see in this picture, young people. They love to plant trees, to learn about trees. And many of our communities celebrate Arbor Day because they're part of Tree City USA through the National Arboretum Foundation. And so learning about how to take care of that tree, like Teresa said, is just crucial. And that's a great way to teach that through the young people, is what the tree needs in terms of care, or what the right tree is at the right place and the right time to plant.
That's so true, Rod. And it also gets them to buy in because they become future tree fans.
Absolutely.
So I have a quick question, more from like a personal standpoint. So if somebody has a tree in their yard and it's considered a heritage tree, what should that person do? Do cities, do states have heritage tree programs or anything?
Yes, some communities have heritage trees, and we'll even put together a brochure kind of mapping out all the heritage trees and tell the stories behind them. So they might look into that if their community has that. And then on a larger scale, there's state champion trees and national champion trees, and those are part of it too. They also make a great story to share on Arbor Day with your local news.
And you usually can find that information just by going online and checking out your state forestry department and just putting that in the Google search, and you'll come popping right up. And if you put in, as Teresa said, champion trees, they'll give you a list of where the champion trees are in your state, and how you get one listed in that kind of way. But start at the local level first, because many towns celebrate their big important trees that they have in their community.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I kind of was asking that one for personal reasons, but I thought a lot of people might have that. So, okay, now we're going to talk about environmental initiatives. I think, Rod, you're going to take the lead on this.
Yeah, environmental is really something that you can do at your home, anywhere that you want. It's really we used to have a criteria sheet that had probably double the amount of questions that any of our other criteria sheets had, because it covers just so many areas that you can work on. And for instance, my community, we have 95 rain gardens in our community of 1,600 people. So we're 0.45 square miles, and we have a rain garden, many rain gardens on every street and in our industrial areas. And so environment initiatives help with so many different things. Stormwater runoff is the rain garden is an example of that. pollution control. We're part of the Anacostia watersheds. And so we want the water to be as clean as possible before it ever gets there. And that the rain gardens certainly provide that in your backyard where you have an area that just keeps soggy and wet all the time. Consider doing a rain garden because you can put in native plants, you can create a pollinator garden out of that area, and or you can plant trees that are suitable for that. So it's a great solution and a great sustainable method for taking care of protecting the environment. This was a group of Girl Scouts that did Earth Day cleanup in along the river, the Anacostia River in Edmonston, Maryland, and so they even did a chant and a song for the occasion. But they were thought it was important to pick up trash. And almost all of our communities we see across the nation, their volunteers, the community members are either picking up trash along community areas or they're doing it in their blocks. Lots of cities have adopt a block where you can just pick up the trash on a regular basis to make it look clean, and certainly water quality and conservation is really, really important. Energy conservation, reducing carbon footprint. The environmental area covers charging stations for electric vehicles, solar panels for your home. Many of you are investing in that initiative today, and so that's a great way to do that. We encourage demonstration gardens. There's Aurora Grande is in a fire area, so they had a wonderful fire resistive demonstration garden that they showed people what plants were suitable to be fire resistant. Or another thing we see a lot is drought resistant. How do we deal with what kind of plants work in your yard or in a community setting that take little water? Because some of us don't always have a lot of time to water. So what are those plants and how can they impact the environment? Air, noise, and light pollution. Something we're seeing a big growth in environment is dark skies initiative. People don't want to have the street lights on all night because it impacts the wildlife, impacts what's going on with the environment. So that's important. Rain barrels. You can put a rain barrel at your house or you can put them in a community setting. They're a wonderful avenue to provide water naturally for watering your plants around your home or just to control runoff. Composting, another great environmental asset that you can do in your backyard or in a community-wide method. In Edmonston, we do food composting, pick up door to door once a week. That compost then is taken to a urban farm in the DC metro area and used as fertilizer for urban farmers that are learning to do that.
And you just mentioned demonstration gardens, Ron. And earlier we had the question about master gardeners. And so a lot of the master gardener groups have demonstration gardens. So that is just a perfect tie-in to everything we're talking about.
The
Great.
county, yes, the county that Lewisburg, West Virginia is located in, I can't remember the name of the county. They, at their fairgrounds, their master gardeners did that exactly what you said, Diane. They created this amazing demonstration garden, and every year they produce plants that will work in that particular environment for them to be successful.
Excellent. Okay, so now you can talk about community vitality, which is another very fun topic.
That's kind of a new category for us. A few years back, we added that because one of the things that's important in community and vitality is the policies and programs in outdoor space. I think we learned this more than anything during COVID. Everybody wanted to be outdoors. So what does that space look like? Yes, is it a dog park? Many of our communities have wonderful dog parks where the dogs can go and play, but playgrounds where the interactive activities for children, are they ADA accessible? Can the children get up to them in a wheelchair or in who are handicapped? Or what about some of the wonderful markets and activities that you do in the neighborhoods? Maybe it's a farmer's market on Saturday morning. Maybe it's a community garden, or maybe it's just a children's garden. All of these things are community vitality that helps make your community a little bit better. Teresa talked about shade. Well, keep that in mind when you're doing playgrounds or having playground equipment where children are playing on. You want shade so that they aren't burnt when they get on the equipment. And those sh beautiful shade sails that they have out today really create an environmental excitement with that. Biking is a big thing of community involvement. And look at these kids. They look like they're having great fun being a part of in the environment for sure. And they're and having an activity in their community.
All right. That's great pictures here too, you guys. These are wonderful. Okay, I see quite a few questions coming in. I'm going to save them because we'll be finished with the presentation in a little bit, and we'll go to questions, and then we're going to conclude this with some extra inspiration, some great photos we have at the end. So, Rod, I'll let you go on and talk about celebrating heritage.
Yeah, and it kind of vitality kind of leads over into that because festivals and celebrating the wonderful cultures and heritage that you have in your community. Also doing programs. Your community might even have a program where it recognizes the best looking yard of the month or the best looking business landscape of the month. And check it out if they do. We have a program, Gardens Across America. You can get your garden certified and get a beautiful plaque that says, "Hey, look what I'm doing. I'm doing the right things with my garden." But heritage is a great, oh, wonderful area to look at for. Sorry, my notes went flying flying off on me. Looking at the natural agriculture and cultural heritage, preservation of and restoration of buildings, homes. We see these signs. I bet you see them everywhere you go. Those you travel, you see those signs. We recommend lots of recommendations around those historical signs, historical gardens, as Teresa mentioned, heritage trees, museums, archives, history books, all the wonderful things that add to a community, but also are areas that you can get involved in if you're living in your community. There, all of these things take volunteers and community involvement. You're going to hear about a little bit later, so it's important. Look at that mural. Murals is something that can really just somebody that has artistic flair painting something on the side of their building or in a vacant downtown area can just enhance growth and development almost immediately. People get excited. Oh, wow, look at that mural. And then they start talking about it. And next thing you know, good things are happening in that particular community. We take a look at ordinances and policies and the resources available in this area when we go out too. So heritage is vitally important. There's West Chicago. They have a wonderful Hispanic culture there, and they celebrate it in a big way. And so, what a vibrant picture that is. And there's I believe that's in Ottawa, Illinois, in the left-hand corner with maybe the Douglas debate that went on there, and it shows one of those. They have a mural program in Ottawa that's outstanding. All over the town, and you can use QR codes to get the history of what's going on with each of the murals. So wonderful programs.
It's really a cool way to keep the history and the stories alive in a community for the next generation so that they know, what's the rich history of your community.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, and then overall impression, Rod.
Well, as Laura said, this is kind of our cleanliness. How does the community look? How does your yard look? We actually go around, run around. I don't know if we're going to show that, but we get the advisors get to hand out some door hangers that say, "What a great job you're doing in your yard or your neighborhood." And so that's what this is looking at. It's looking at trash. It's looking at signage. Is there snipe everywhere? Everyone may not know what snipe is, but it means those wonderful signs that advertise garage sales and buy my house now and all of those bad things that just litter up the look of a community in a bad way. And so making sure that those trails and those public spaces are clean and you have no weeds growing in the concrete downtown or along the streets or in the sidewalks. You have dog waste policies so that you have dog waste containers throughout the town. Vandalism isn't evident look at these great young people cleaning up the shoreline in one of our communities. And so appropriate use and placement of trailblazing signs so that they get you to the right place that you want to get to within your community. And always, you'll always hear from us, always community involvement. Look at that. When I dream about my community, what do I think about? And many of these things are easy and not take a lot of time. It just takes community involvement. That spark plug from the neighborhood to go in and help the community organization, whether it's the Master Gardener Group or the Garden Club, the Bloom Committee, the town is a small town. I'm always looking for somebody to come come help us out do some project that we have in the community.
Excellent. And you mentioned the door hangers. So this was two different cities that I was advising last year. And these are two of the gardens where I said, we have to recognize these. You know, they were doing a superb job. But yeah, even in the communities where they didn't look quite this good, but you could tell that somebody was taking care, they got doorknob hangers as well. So I didn't get a chance to talk to the people after we put them on the doorknobs, but you can imagine the pride that they took by having their own gardens recognized.
I think
So,
that's the joy, Diane, we get as advisors when we do actually get to talk to one of the homeowners and you hand that to them. They're just so proud. They're just so thrilled that, oh my gosh, my work and my effort is really paying off. So that's a great program. Good job.
okay, so I'm going to stop the presentation now so that we can ask a few of the questions that are coming in. And I saw several questions kind of along the same topics that were like, where do you get started? How do you start a community garden? And kind of in that same vein, do you guys have any tips that you've seen on how they're doing it economically? Is there a way to get plants or planters or do them economically? Because if you're a small town and your resources are small, I think a lot of people would like some of those ideas. So we'll let you guys share some of your ideas with everybody.
I
Or
think one
starting
thing
a
you can,
community.
Go ahead, Teresa.
uh,
You get
I'm gonna
going.
back out. Let the pros talk.
As far as starting a community garden, I think that's a great idea. And it helps to start it in a public area where it gets lots of visibility and also where you can recruit others. So, beside a school is a wonderful place to have a community garden, or in a public park is another place to have a great community garden, or even alongside a municipal building. That can be a great place to get one started. And then you can also have some buy-in from whoever has that property and get some financial support from them, as well as perhaps some volunteer support.
Yeah, and look at county extension. Many
Oh,
times
yes.
county extension can fund it or has the dollars that can go into helping you, but also look at your nurseries around you. They a lot of times will jump right in and offer you either free plants or discounts on whatever seeds or plants you might need to get your community garden going. Don't forget about maintenance, making sure you have water source and and a way to, rules and regulations a little bit so that the garden squares or the garden boxes are taken care of. And also think about elderly folks and bending. Do some raised beds because folks don't like to necessarily get down on the ground if they can just do raised beds and actually get it done that way.
Laura, you have anything to add?
I do maybe perhaps a dovetail onto what Rod was talking about, using your local nursery or garden center. They were the experts in your community. Use them for ideas, help them in the planning, put them on a committee if they're engaged and part of your program. Potentially, there's some savings that they may pass along your way. They are a vital strategic partner. Use them, and it's a business building opportunity for them, of course. So let's all be successful together.
And Teresa mentioned locating by a school. There's nothing more fun for the kids than to do a garden at their school. They even come back during the summer a lot of times collect the harvest that happens during that. Bruton, Alabama has an amazing school garden. They incorporated art into theirs, and so children are even able to do art that gets incorporated right into the garden beds as the kids develop and grow plants during the year. But
That's great.
schools are wonderful, wonderful.
And libraries too.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, gardening clubs or master gardener groups might have plant sales or plant sharing opportunities. You know, if you get the word out among your community, maybe somebody's like, oh my gosh, my hostas are so overgrown, I need to divide them. Well, if you get a bunch of volunteers together, then you can plant a roadway or along a sidewalk or something. So I think the more you get the word out about what you're trying to do in your community, probably the more opportunities you're going to find to get more input from people.
Yeah,
Diane,
seed swaps and plant swaps are fun. They're everybody's proud of their some of their plants. The Bayview Chautauqua last year, this one particular garden, that's just the person, the volunteer that took care of it. That's what her pride and joy is. She could share her plants with others or gather up plants that she saw in other gardens and bring them to that. She was thrilled. So great idea.
and you can be very economical. In Holliston, Massachusetts, they adopted marigolds, and marigolds are easy to collect the seeds at the end of the season. And so they had one person who offered to grow marigolds in his backyard in a little pop-up greenhouse, and he would grow them, and then volunteers would plant them. And he became kind of known as this marigold, the marigold mayor, I think it was, or something like that. And he had a black top hat with orange marigolds that he would wear to public appearances. So have fun with it, and you really can get creative in how to make an impact, even with simple seeds, like Rod said.
Teresa referenced Holliston, Mass, and they're actually on this call I saw. So good to see them.
Hi, Holliston.
Kudos to them. Yes.
Yes.
And let's hear, somebody had asked about a community garden. And so there is communitygarden.org, which is a resource. So that URL is in the chat. And then somebody else said to check out your soil and water conservation districts, who sometimes have access to information on resource availability. So that's fantastic. Okay. So now here's a question. It sounds like somebody has tried to do some of these things and ran up against the wall. So here's the question, and maybe you guys have some advice for her. Having served on my local grounds committee, and I've felt the resistance of any new innovative efforts. So how do you recommend that one syncs with their HOA?
I have two ideas while Teresa and Rod noodle on that. One would put them on the commission. Put your HOAs on the commission. If they're engaged, you've already broken a barrier, right? And then secondly, could the commission go into the HOAs and give yard of the week, yard of the month sort of awards? And you're now building bridges and starting to build relationships. Two off the top of my head ideas.
I also think it helps to bring in an outside authority and host like a webinar or a workshop or something like that that kind of verifies what you're doing. So it's not you trying to convince them, but if you bring in an outside source from the community that kind of affirms what you're doing, then other people can get buy-in sometimes if it doesn't look like it's your agenda then.
Yeah, sometimes communities have green teams, and those green teams they're made up of volunteers in the community. They meet on a regular basis. They create policy and submit it to the mayors and councils and try to get it in terms of innovative ideas. Like right now, our green team always makes my hair hurt, and I don't even have any hair, but they come up with recently they're now going to promote using electrical blowers and mowers and lawn equipment versus gas powered. And so they're going to bring that. They brought the idea of bees in backyards and that's kind of innovative in a neighborhood. in having the beehives in your backyard. So they started that discussion at that level, as Teresa said, and had an expert talk about how that works. And then those volunteers got excited about it, wrote a policy, brought it to the council, and they ended up then adopting it as an HOA board could do in an HOA situation and setting. Look to your universities or technical schools or community colleges near you. They all have experts in areas that you might be thinking it's innovative, that you want your HOA to consider. There's lots of in our area in in um, the northeast part of the country. Chesapeake Bay Trust is an amazing organization that is working to protect the Chesapeake Bay in New York, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, and so they have lots of resources and information that you can go to that's doing innovative practices for improvements in areas. So finding that spark plug and getting them excited and talking to experts and presenting information so that people are educated. Because that's the one thing. That's like our rain gardens. We had to spend a lot of time educating our residents so they understood in their front yard why they had a rain garden and did they want one and what kind of plants they wanted there. We actually changed the landscape architect changed the plant palette as a result of that input from the resident. So you could do that same thing in the HOA. Get that input. Make them feel like they're a part of the solution.
One thing that can be kind of fun too is to go get a group of people and go visit one of the AIB communities. And it really helps to see what another community is doing. I think sometimes visually seeing it and helping plant those vision in other people. So I would encourage you to maybe go visit a community that's doing some strong things, and you can find a list of the AIB communities on the website, and just plan a field trip. It can be a lot of fun. Take a group with you, and then they'll all be champions for you when you go back to your community.
That's so true. And having the champions are important. One of the things that one first time community did last year when my co-advisor and I met was they invited 30 to 40 key people from the community. And then my co-advisor and I did a presentation kind of like this and talked about what America in Bloom was and what's in it for them, the value, the returns, the ROI and things. And I think that really got a lot more people. And I see that somebody just said, we send invitation to webinars like this one. So I wanted to say we're recording this. And so everybody who registered is going to get this recording and you can share it then and say, hey, this is what America in Bloom is. And Laura, and I'm sure you have a ton more resources on the website as well. The Best Ideas book. And I know we're putting together a new one that's going to do like some before and afters. So the resources that are available on the website and through other participants is amazing. So okay, let's see where. Oh, I had a question that I kind of posed to our panel before, and here's my question slash idea. When you go through a community before Christmas, before the holidays, and you see all the lights, and sometimes you have a street or a subdivision or something, everybody has the same lights wrapped around the bottom half of their tree, or everybody has the same little something on their mailboxes. So you've got this consistency. And I was wondering, because we're talking to a lot of home gardeners and homeowners, what are your ideas? Have you seen any, or do you have any ideas on how, like, somebody who lives on Lilac Lane might all plant lilacs by their mailbox or something? Do you have ideas like that, or have you seen anything?
I did think of one in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. There is a whole street that hosts a garden tour every year. And it is so fun because one person started it, but then the whole street got involved because they wanted to have a garden, open their gardens too. And it just seemed to snowball down the street. And so now it's become an expected thing, and people go visit this street once a year for their annual garden tour.
Yeah, I think that that neighborhood idea, we see neighborhood celebrations happen where they'll set up a mark off a block and put the string lights out and have a band and a fire pit. Fire pits have become really exciting. All you do is roast some s'mores or and just come around and have some fun, or you have a food truck. Food trucks are a big thing, and so putting them at in a block and decorating. I like the idea of the plants too, making a neighborhood plant idea, as many towns do their downtown with a certain plant each year. But it would be fun to see that happening some in our neighborhoods where you might see the petunia, bubblegum petunias go crazy sometimes in some climates, and so maybe that's a good plant to have in that neighborhood, or maybe there's some other little thing you can do to make your area stand out just a little bit more. But yeah, we're seeing Christmas time especially. We saw a community that had a Christmas market. They took the bridge, closed their bridge because it separated the two sides of town, and they set up Christmas market with
Oh, great.
vendors, and they had a food truck, and they had the fire pit, and so fun time for the residents to be able to do that.
Diane, I saw one other community. They had, it was a street, and they all decided to buy trees. And the city paid for half of the price of the tree, and the resident paid for the other half and signed an agreement to water the tree for that first season. And so it was fun because everybody could see how their trees were growing, and they'd all be out watering at the same time. And so it created some real pride in that street. And then the street over decided, hey, we want to do that too. So it's spreading down other streets of this community.
Yeah, that is fantastic. I see somebody else talking about the city flower, and I know earlier we were talking about Lewisburg, West Virginia, who had the dragon wing
Mhm.
red begonia all over their downtown. And then we were talking about additional ideas. Like if you do have a citywide flower, then you can use it as a fundraiser. Have people place orders ahead of time, and then maybe this neighborhood would do it. But then the fundraiser then could go back into the community for more beautification. It's just somebody said it's like a rolling snowball. It just keeps getting bigger and better and bigger and better. Yeah.
I remember we've talked a lot about this, but you can approach your a garden club to start a bloom team, or maybe you just want to start your own bloom team with volunteers, and that bloom team does some of these ideas that you're learning about today, and then eventually grows into joining America in Bloom and into our national awards program. But there's lots and lots of ways to get ideas about what your community can do to make it better.
So okay, I've got lots of questions here. I'm going to address this one because I do think it's important. And the question is, what liability concerns should one think about when approaching a community to beautify small areas? Like if you're wanting to start to just small, are there liability issues or anything that they should think about? Which kind of goes in with my next question is, how do you start? How do you start small? So that's a twofold question. How do you start? Which the answer is probably small, but then are there any liability concerns that you need to be aware of from the get-go?
Well, I'm putting on my town administrator hat now. And most communities have insurance that protect their volunteers that sign up in an official capacity of any way. And so that in terms of that liability. But I would also encourage that, whenever you're doing whatever you're doing, there should be some direction on the proper safety procedures. For instance, you're doing a roadside cleanup. Don't pick up needles. Don't pick up, things that are going to harm you, potentially broken glass. And so we normally ask for folks to give an education when those kinds of activities are happening. But we see all across the country where volunteers probably assume their own liability to some degree, and maybe don't sign a waiver each time they go out and do something in their community because we hear stories where of seeing a person is taking care of this particular public area for 50 years or 40 years. And I doubt very seriously that they've thought much about liability, but that's where an official organization connection, the relation to, can cover that for you so that you are covered in terms of doing something in a organized fashion.
All right. So we have some amazing before and after pictures that I want to share. So Laura, I'm going to do that. And with Rod and Teresa, then certainly jump in if you have anything to add. But I thought, well, doing these last few slides of before and after is very inspiring. So we're going to do that. And Laura, will let you take over, and we're going to use our last, 9 minutes here of really tantalizing people with some of these wonderful before and after photos.
Yeah, I hope that these will inspire you on what you can do in your own yard and also in your community as a whole. And Teresa and Rod, please jump in. Castle Rock, Washington is a small community, fewer than about 2,500 people, maybe. They sit at the base of Mount St. Helen, and it was a dying logging town. They had 50% vacancy rate downtown. No, there were no shops. Nobody was investing in Castle Rock. The people there are great, and they wanted to save their town, and so they decided to get involved in American Bloom, and they consider it their marketing program. You need a good marketing plan for anything, and so they think of AIB as their marketing plan. And so the next slide shows what they look like after their first year. You know, Teresa said start small, start with something where you can see something, right? And that's what they did. They started downtown. They put some containers in front of businesses, begged business owners to water them. They did some planters. The flowers are like that first thing. Teresa mentioned that that's sort of a lot of where a lot of communities start is in putting flowers out. And then the snowball starts rolling. So this is what they look like after their first year. This is a great first year, but now this is what they look like. This is Castle Rock, Washington. Remember, 50% vacancy rate downtown. Nothing exciting was happening. Now Castle Rock is thriving. They have busloads of tourists coming through to look at the flowers. I'm going to say it again, plants are pretty, but they are more than pretty. There is money coming into Castle Rock. People are investing in Castle Rock. Tourism dollars are coming into Castle Rock because of how beautiful Castle Rock is.
And
This,
they partnered with Proven Winters to with some of their plants, but they what the big partnership was with their local school. And so the young people grow the plants and get them prepared and ready to go for the volunteers to fan out through the community to put them in springtime. So it's just a wonderful they're one of our rock stars. We talk about them a lot.
And you talked about the vacancy rate. What is the vacancy rate now?
oh, they're busting at the seams. People want to invest in Castle Rock. There's no vacancy in
Right.
Castle Rock, Washington. Yeah.
Fairhope, Alabama, when Laura said that this was their marketing, Fairhope, Alabama is another community that is absolutely beautiful. It's in a different climate than Castle Rock, so they can have flowers year round. But when we asked the mayor what she spent on her marketing budget for the community, and she said, Mama, I don't spend anything on marketing. Mine all goes to plants. And so I spend several $100,000 to make our downtown look beautiful because that's what people want to come and see.
And if we get through the slides enough before the top of the hour, we do have a Fairhope picture to sort of reinforce that. Ottawa, Illinois is about an hour west of Chicago. And next slide will show you some before and after. There's a few, and we'll just go through this quickly. But if you're going to live in Ottawa, I know where I feel like I'd want to live, which Ottawa. And the next one's about, if you're going to invest in Ottawa, certainly which Ottawa you would want to invest in. And if you were going to shop downtown, I know which Ottawa I would feel safer shopping in. Plants are pretty, but they are more than pretty. You've got beautiful streetscape. You've got a mural. They've got a grant to do a lot of this work, of course, but they have passionate people. And each of you on this webinar are passionate about where you live. And so you can transform your community just like Ottawa and the other 380 communities that are involved in America in Bloom. Bluffton, Ohio. What I love about Bluffton, Ohio is this is an example of how you can partner with a nursery or garden center. They partnered with Stratton Greenhouses. Susie and Steve Stratton are really wonderful ambassadors for the American Bloom program they're sort of in the north central part of Ohio. And they work with communities of all sizes and all budgets and do these. They really are partners in the beautification. And these pictures will show you sort of what Bluffton looked like before and some of the great things that they're doing now. And Bluffton is a beautiful community. The people there are awesome, but they've also found the right partners to work with. If you have a garden center or nursery in your community, use them. Have them be partners in your program. And then the next several slides are just to inspire you. Top right is Calabasas, California, and below it is Clyde, Ohio. These are they're 180 degrees different on resources. Calabasas is where the rich and famous live. It's where the Kardashians live. Kardashians don't live in Clyde, Ohio. Both communities are awesome, and the people that live there are awesome. They just have to go about things differently. And so this is American Bloom program is a program for communities of all sizes and all resources, as you can see from Calabasas. So bottom left is Fairhope. Diane, if you can go back one. And Rod mentioned what the mayor said. What are your marketing dollars? She said, we plant our marketing dollars. That's if every mayor did that, right? And Fairhope is gorgeous, and they have tourism because of how beautiful it is.
And it is tricky when your communities are doing budgets, and that's why it's important for people and like all the people that are on this today, you can encourage your towns to continue to put in their budget to spend dollars to make their downtowns and their areas look beautiful. Because the first thing to go in a budget cut is flowers and the money that a community spends on that. But if you can prove that there's wonderful return on investment, certainly that can help keep those dollars available.
Diane, if you could just go back. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Teresa, but while Diane goes back.
I'll be quick. I was in Boston this spring for the Boston Marathon, and it's smart to time some of your blooms with your major events in your community. So they planted daffodils, which are pretty inexpensive, and they planted them along the race route. So they had the gold there during the marathon. So I think you can take that idea to your communities too.
And the last story I want to share is the one on the right is Lewisburg, West Virginia. This looks like a garden center, but it's not. That's a restaurant. That's a restaurant because the business owner knew if it was beautiful on the outside, it would attract people inside. You got to live up with good food and customer service, to keep them coming back. But I've been to that restaurant. Diane's been to that restaurant. The food is great. The customer service is great. But boy, those flowers sure what get you in. So plants are pretty, but they are more than pretty. And that business owner knew it.
He does it year after year. The ambiance, I've been there multiple times, and it's always like that every year. And it's just absolutely gorgeous. People want to spend time.
This is a very small community who's doing amazing things with amazing people.
Totally agree with that. Yeah. Okay, so let's conclude, Laura. What do communities say after they've been in American Bloom once or 20 times?
Yeah, thank you for helping us be the best that we can be. You've brought our community together, and it's the best decision we ever made. And I do the last bullet point talks about the value of the symposium. I would invite each of you on this webinar to come to our fall symposium. It's September 24 to 26. It's in Washington, D.C. as we celebrate our 25th anniversary, and sort of coincides with America's 250 celebration. Please come. It's an inspiring time where you can learn about American Bloom and meet with people who are just like you, who care passionately about where you live, and you'll have a wonderful time.
So unfortunately, our time is up. Oh my gosh, an hour goes so quick. So Laura, give everybody the website if they want to go to American Bloom and learn more, get their own communities involved.
AmericaInBloom.org. That's AmericaInBloom.org. And they've got a lot of things you can learn about how the American Bloom program works, but there's a lot of free resources there for you as well. If you're, for things that you want to learn about, we've likely got something on there for you.
And if
Thank
And
you,
you so
follow
much.
along on Facebook and Instagram too.
yeah, and if you contact your community and they want to know more information, please reach out to Laura. She's happy to have a webinar, a Zoom, or whatever needs to be to meet with the folks and help give more information.
So thank you, you guys. I mean, I'm inspired, and I know a lot about America in Bloom, so it's still inspiring to me to do as much as possible to help. And thank you for your time. And oh, Laura, what's the deadline for this year for
So
community?
great question. If you want to register and get your community involved in this year's program, the deadline is February 28th. So all that's on the website. And again, as Rod mentioned, I'm happy to do a Zoom meeting with you to talk more about how your community can get involved. I see Lewisburg is on the webinar too. We've talked a lot about Lewisburg today. So welcome.
Welcome and thank you. So thank you, everybody, and have a great afternoon and the rest of January, what's left.